had inherited were and what steps we should take to arrest the situation. This year, in 2026, we're going to hold a National Economic Dialogue 1 year on, and organized labor is going to be an important part of the dialogue because it will include all the issues that
And still at the seat of government, the President John Dramani Mahama has welcomed 54 personnel from the Ghana Armed Forces following their return from a humanitarian mission in Jamaica after devastation caused by Hurricane Melissa.
Mahama praised the troops drawn mainly from the 14th Engineer Brigade for what he described as a successful non-combat humanitarian mission grounded in shared Afro-Caribbean history and Pan-African solidarity. The 54-member team, drawn from the Ghana Armed Forces, 48th, 49th and 50th Engineer Regiments, was to work closely with the Jamaica Defense Forces 1 Engineer Regiment.
It is with great pride and deep admiration that I stand before you this afternoon to welcome home the Ghana Armed Forces Engineer Reconstruction Team from your mission in the Republic of Jamaica. Following 3 months of distinguished humanitarian and reconstruction service in the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa. On behalf of the government and people of Ghana, in my capacity as the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, I extend to each one of you a warm and heartfelt welcome home. Your safe return marks the successful conclusion of a demanding mission carried out in the finest traditions of the Ghana Armed Forces. It is a moment not only of reunion with your families and loved ones, but also an occasion of national pride and gratitude. Following the devastation caused by Hurricane Melissa, Ghana, acting in solidarity with the people of Jamaica, deployed your team on 18th December 2025 to support recovery and reconstruction efforts. Over a period of 90 days, you operated under difficult and often austere conditions in communities that were still grappling with the harsh effects of the disaster. And yet, in spite of those challenges, you discharged your responsibilities with remarkable professionalism, discipline, technical competence, and unwavering dedication to duty.
The assignments included repairing damaged public infrastructure and constructing temporary accommodation for residents displaced by the storm. They departed in December 2025. The President, after welcoming the personnel on Tuesday, March 17, 2026, said their work demonstrated Ghana's commitment to international cooperation beyond military operations, highlighting the importance of solidarity in times of crisis.
In doing so, you did not merely rebuild structures, you helped restore dignity and confidence and hope to the people in distress. The government and the military high command followed your deployment very closely. We monitored your progress with keen interest and took note of the difficult conditions under which you operated. And we observed with pride the resilience, innovation, teamwork, and discipline with which you overcame every obstacle that came your way. Your performance has brought honor not only to yourselves and your families, but also to the Ghana Armed Forces and to our dear nation, Ghana. Although the mission thankfully recorded no loss of life or injury, it demanded sacrifice, endurance, and an uncommon sense of duty. You left behind your homes, your families, and the comfort of familiarity to answer a call of service beyond our borders.
Their efforts focused particularly on roofing projects in St. Elizabeth Parish, including the communities of Middle Quarters and Black River.
The minority in Parliament has called on government to scrap the 1 Ghana cedi levy on petroleum products, arguing it has outlived its purpose and is worsening the financial burden on citizens amidst rising fuel costs.
Deputy Ranking Member of the Energy Committee, Colin Sadomako Mensah, said the ongoing tensions involving Israel, the United States and Iran have driven up global crude oil prices, directly impacting fuel costs in Ghana.
The world has changed. The cedi is no longer absorbing anything. According to projections by the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies, petrol prices could rise by as much as 16.92% and diesel by 17.2% in the coming pricing window of March 2026 alone, driven by a sharp surge in crude oil prices from approximately $71.41 per barrel to over $100 per barrel in mid-March.
As of the second pricing window of March 2026, diesel was selling at 15 cedis 60 pesos per litre and petrol had exceeded 12 cedis 40 pesos per litre. The Energy Sector Levies Amendment Act of 2025 added approximately 1 Ghana cedi to the price build-up, bringing the total levy for debt repayment and sector shortfall to 1 cedi 95 pesos for petrol and 1 cedi 93 pesos for diesel. The minority pointed out that the government had fully addressed the energy sector's outstanding debt between January and December 2025, paying about $1.47 billion, including repayment of 597 million Ghana cedis drawn on the World Bank partial risk guarantee and settlement of all pending gas invoices.
Amid the war involving the United States, Israel, and Iran, diesel was selling at 15.60 per litre and petrol had exceeded 12.40 per litre. The Energy Sector Levies Amendment Act of 2025 officially added approximately 1 Ghana cedi to the price build-up, bringing the total energy sector shortfall and debt repayment levy to 1.95 Ghana cedi for petrol and 1.93 Ghana cedi for diesel. If the guarantee has been restored, and if the cedi is no longer shielding consumers from levies impacts, then the justification for the 1 Ghana cedi Dumsor levy has completely evaporated. Keeping it is not policy, it is punishment. We call on government to immediately amend the Energy Sector Levies Amendment Act 2025 under a certificate of urgency to repeal the 1 Ghana cedi Dumsor levy forthwith.
He added that the government should also consider suspending or restructuring other embedded levies to cushion consumers from the global oil price shock.
Additionally, we call on government to direct a comprehensive review of all taxes and levies embedded in the petroleum price build-up and to intensify those that can be suspended or restructured to cushion consumers from the full weights of the current global oil price shock.
The Deputy National Communications Director of the New Patriotic Party, Kamaldeen Abdullahi, has criticized plans for a new SIM re-registration exercise, describing it as unnecessary and financially burdensome.
Kamaldeen argued that the proposed exercise would cost the nation millions of cedis without delivering meaningful value. Instead of a fresh registration, he called for a comprehensive audit of existing SIM registration data, suggesting that any discrepancies identified should be addressed through collaboration with the National Identification Authority. Kamaldeen further urged the Communications Ministry to ensure accountability by identifying and sanctioning any individuals responsible for irregularities while also recovering any funds that may have been misused. His comments come after the National Communications Authority disclosed that an audit of SIM card registration data from 2021 to 2023 revealed 0 fingerprint matches when cross-checked with the National Identity Database, raising serious concerns about the credibility of existing records.
They usually pursue their parochial interest and not the public interest, usually. You see, and I'm saying this without any reservation. Why? The current Minister for Communication, Sam George, is quoted to have said that ours isn't a SIM re-registration. This is a proper SIM registration.
It's quoted where?
Unquote. Quoted on my Major Online.
Very well.
Okay? Ours isn't a SIM re-registration. This is a proper SIM registration. Simply, if you are going to analyze what he has said, What it means is that we don't even have SIM registration at all. If this is what he actually said, what it means is that this country hasn't got any SIM registration, which I beg to differ.
Really?
Completely. I beg to completely differ. You may have some, if you like, a bit of errors. You see, God, this is technical. These are machines. These are human beings who put their hands on them. You may have some, if you like, discrepancies a bit, some inaccuracies somewhere. But you cannot rule out that we never did a SIM registration in this country. When in fact, as a member of parliament, as a member of the committee, you were aware that the process went through. You just asked a very profound question, Nana. That did we use our Ghana cards to do the registration or not? And the answer is in the affirmative. We did.
True.
Now, before you acquire a Ghana card, look at the rigorous process we go through.
True.
All these fingers are captured. Okay? So when somebody says there's no matching fingerprints, it is at someone's fault or as a result of someone's fault. Maybe at the process of synchronizing. And come out to tell us. But don't tell us that there's no SIM registration at all, and therefore I want to do it. Look, we cannot live on the whims and caprices of some people who believe their egos is what saved Ghana. No. Why? Are you telling me that Ghana spent money and did nothing? If you are saying there's no SIM registration at all, and then you come in as a government knowing that money was actually budgeted for this process, and the process was done. Now your position as a minister there is that nothing like that has been done, and that person who is supposed to have spearheaded that earlier is walking free, and you think the public purse is needless, we cannot hold the person to book?
The minority in the parliament has criticized government proposed a reduction in utility tariffs, describing it as grossly insufficient to ease the financial burden on consumers.
The caucus argues that Ghanaians have been subjected to inflated tariffs based on outdated economic assumptions, resulting in an estimated overcharge of 1.5 billion Ghana cedis in the fourth quarter of 2025. Collins Adoma-Komensa urged the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, PURC, to urgently review its tariff setting methodology.
The Public Utilities Regulatory Commission announced on 13th March 2026 reductions in electricity and water tariffs effective 1st April 2026, with electricity tariffs falling by an average of 4.81% and water tariffs by 3.06%. We say plainly, this reduction is insufficient, and Ghanaian consumers deserve far better. We have carefully reviewed PURC's own quarterly data for 2025. What those figures reveal is a consistent and systematic pattern of overprojection in both inflation and exchange rate assumptions. The warranted tariff reduction for the current period should have been, and I repeat, should have been no less than 10%. Our own analysis of the full year 2025 data concurs. The 4.81% reduction announced by the PURC does not reflect the actual economic conditions of 2025. It reflects a fraction of what consumers are genuinely owed. A 4.81% reduction against a 23% cumulative increase is not relief. Furthermore, we wish to place on record a critical point that this government has deliberately avoided. This reduction has come about while Ghana remains under the IMF program. This incontrovertible proof that the IMF program does not mandate upward tariff adjustment. The MPP did not sign an agreement for perpetual increases. Every single increment imposed on Ghanaian consumers under this administration is the direct result of the policy choices. We call on the PURC to urgently review its methodology, using verified actual economic data to implement a corrective adjustment that delivers genuine relief, not less than 10% to consumers in Q3 of 2026.
The Basic Circuit Court has scheduled Wednesday, March 25, 2026 to deliver its ruling on a preliminary legal objection in extradition case of Frederick Kumi, known as Abu Tirika.
The case stems from a formal request by United States authorities seeking Abu Tirika's extradition to face criminal charges, including conspiracy to commit wire fraud and conspiracy to commit money laundering. Abu Tirika's legal team, led by Oliver Baker-Vormawor, filed a preliminary objection challenging the legal basis of the extradition proceedings. Counsel argued that the offences cited are not covered under the 1931 extradition treaty between the two countries. According to Vormawor, neither wire fraud nor money laundering is expressly listed as an extraditable offence under the treaty, and the inclusion of conspiracy is limited to specific categories that do not apply in this case. The legal team further contended that Ghana cannot rely on more recent domestic legislation to expand the treaty's scope, insisting that extradition must strictly adhere to the offences agreed upon by the two states. Meanwhile, a group of youth from Swedro besieged the court, demanding Abu Tirika's release, highlighting public interest and local tensions surrounding the case. The court's ruling on the preliminary objection will determine whether the extradition proceedings can move forward or face further legal challenges.
And on this note, we go for a quick break. While we return, we go straight to the business desk and bring you some more stories there.
Hi, welcome to Shiloh Guest House, where comfort meets warmth. Our serene environment and cozy rooms provides a pleasant stay. To book a room with us, call 055-5940-103 and 0241-972076. Locate us at Teshinungwa Estate, number 8 Coconut Street, directly behind A-Life Supermarket. Shiloh Guest House, where comfort meets warmth.
Welcome back. On the business front, Ghana ended 2025 with a total debt stock of 641 billion Ghana cedis, marking a marginal decline.
This was captured in the Bank of Ghana's Summary of Economic and Financial Data for March 2026. The data also showed that Ghana's debt to GDP ratio slowed to 45.3%. In 2024, the country's total debt stock stood at 726.7 billion Ghana cedis, with a debt to GDP ratio of 61.8%. The report indicated that the debt stock declined steadily from November to December 2025. Some market analysts contribute the reduction to the cedi's sharp appreciation in 2025, particularly in the last quarter of the year. Figures from the Ghana Statistical Service show that Ghana's economy is now estimated at 1.4 trillion Ghana cedis, up from 1.1 trillion Ghana cedis in the same period in 2024.
Energy expert and also executive director of the Institute for Energy Policies and Research, Kwadwo Poku, says government currently has limits to capacity to ease the burden of rising fuel prices, citing IMF restriction and significant revenue shortfall.
Mr. Poku said while public frustration is understandable, the fiscal space required to intervene simply does not exist. According to him, The Price Stabilization and Recovery Levy, designed to cushion consumers during price hikes, cannot be reduced under Ghana's IMF-supported program as it is treated as part of government's revenue. He further revealed that, as of November 2025, the government had mobilized 187 billion Ghana cedis out of a 220 billion cedis revenue target, with projections suggesting the final figure would fall short. In addition, he said the government planned to raise 40 billion Ghana cedis through treasury bills but managed only 10 billion Ghana cedis, leaving a 30 billion cedis financing gap. Mr. Poku noted that although some taxes, including the e-levy, had been scrapped in recent reforms, the bulk of levies embedded in fuel pricing remain intact due to fiscal pressures. He added that final revenue figures for 2025 are expected after the Bank of Ghana releases its first quarter data, which will provide a clearer picture of the country's financial position.
I've seen that some of the oil marketing companies initially came up with some prices. They've reduced it a bit. It's good for all of us if it is reduced, but it's just the unnecessary politics that is playing out. And karma is real, as if it's by God's intervention to show them that all the things they said in opposition, they'll face it and see how they treat it. When we had the Russian-Ukraine war and we had the COVID-19, and off the back of that, prices were high. Then we had all the things that they claim can be done and should be done. Today, they are in power. Why can't they do the same? Why is the Ghanaian having to feel the full brunt of what the international shocks are? They talk about bad shock absorbers that was available then. Now, have they provided anything to help the Ghanaian? No. One of the things that normally you would have used would be the Price Stabilization and Recovery Levy, which unfortunately, the IMF is not allowing us to use because it is seen as part of government revenue, which is very unfortunate that it's seen that way, because the whole idea of the Price Stabilization and Recovery Levy was to basically zero out to give some small relief to Ghanaians when prices are high. But due to the IMF interventions, we are not allowed to touch it and zero it out when prices go high. So obviously, that remedy is not available. So it's unfortunate those utterances were made.
From the business desk, we'll wrap up the last story. We go for a quick break. While we return, we'll bring you sports.
Jasuni Fremi Ejahima Sawupa Sawuba MBN Jasua Fremi was 0245 88 2128 MBN Jasu coming home na yendi eja at the right place.
Welcome back from the quick break. You're still live on the Evening Bulletin, live and direct from our studios on the 10th Avenue Extension, Greater Estate. We're also live on our social media handles on MBN 360. On the sports desk, the Senegalese government has called for an independent international investigation into suspected corruption at the African Football Governing Body after it stripped Senegal of the 2025 African Cup of Nations title and awarded it to Morocco.
Senegal beat Morocco 1-0 in January's final, but the Confederation of African Football (CAF) overturned the result on Tuesday. because Senegal's players walked off the pitch in protest when host Morocco were awarded a stoppage time penalty. Following an appeal by the Moroccan FA, CAF ruled that Senegal had forfeited the match, with the results being recorded as 3-0 in favor of Morocco. In a statement, the Senegalese government said the unprecedented and exceptionally serious decision was based on a manifestly erroneous interpretation of the regulations, leading to a grossly illegal and deeply unjust decision.
Player of the Year award. He's in a league of his own.
And with this overturn from the CAF authorities, the Confederation of African Football, we're going for a break. When we return, we'll bring you the international news.
Ghana, are you ready? Accra, are you ready? MBN TV presents to you the ultimate food experience, which is happening right at the sea breeze inside Labadi Beach. Camera, this Easter Monday, the activities include eating competition, dancing competition, freestyle session, horse riding by the beach, live music performance, DJ play all day. Vote for your best food vendor. The ultimate show with AJ Baka done live at the event.
And most of all, dress stylish, dress classy, dress beach chic. Come take a picture with us and a 360 video.
This is not just food event, this is a whole experience.
Come hungry, come ready, come chill with your friends and family.
Food vendors are to register. For registration and enquiries, contact 024882128 or 055421137.
My name is AJ Bakasnata and I will see you all at the Ordinary Food Bazaar,
where taste meets vibes. This event is proudly powered by MBN TV.
Welcome back from the break. We turn our attention to the international front, where the Israeli airstrike, which killed Iranian security chief Ali Rejani, has removed one of the Islamic Republic's most experienced and influential policymakers at a critical moment.
Larijani was not a military commander, but he was a central figure in shaping Iran's strategic decisions. As Secretary of the Supreme National Security Council, he sat at the heart of decision-making on war, diplomacy, and national security. His voice carried weight across the system, particularly in managing Iran's confrontation with the United States and Israel. After the killing of Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei on 28 February, Larijani struck a defiant tone, signaling that Iran was prepared for a long conflict. His death, now confirmed by state media, comes amid a broader campaign in which several senior Iranian officials and commanders have been killed within a matter of weeks. This pattern suggests a sustained effort to weaken Iran's leadership structure during wartime. Despite his hardline stance against the West, Larijani was often described inside Iran as a pragmatist. He combined ideological loyalty with a technocrat approach, favoring calculated strategy over rhetoric. He remained deeply skeptical of engagement with Western powers, but he was also involved in key diplomatic efforts, including acting as an envoy on Iran's long-term cooperation agreement with China.
And this brings us to the end of this evening bulletin, live and direct from our studios in the 10th Avenue Extension, Greater Estate, Nwadokono. But before we take leave of you, let's take a second look at the stories making headlines.
SIM re-registration exercise needless, NPP's Kamal Dean. In business, Ghana ends 2025 with total debt stock of 641 billion cedis. On the international front, death of Ali Larijani deepens crisis at heart of Iran's leadership.
For more news, log on to MBN 360. Make a date with the same time. The news came to you from our studios on the 10th Avenue extension. My name is El Samuels. Do have a good evening.